Hi, welcome. We are doing a short screencast so that you can review a little bit of what was at our fourth and final session training if you are new to your gifted point of contact position or if you just like a little refresher as someone returning. Just as a side note, I'm really excited. I am at one of our schools' campuses and getting ready to meet with them, and am at the Osage Cafe, which is connected. So I'm so excited to be a part of all the charters in DPS and all of the cool different types of school models that we have within our charter schools. First as a teacher, an administrator, and now as a parent, and then certainly in my new role with the district. So it's very neat to be able to see all the neat, wonderful things that everyone's doing. Moving into the presentation, it's putting it into practice. So we're going to look at our final training and what our goals are for that. So our goals for today, we're going to review and analyze a couple different ALP goals. Again, it's part science, part art, so we're going to talk together, and I'd like you to remember the main thing, which is as you start writing them, please send me 2 or 3 and get some additional feedback so that you can be pretty certain when you're uploading them into Frontline Enrich that you're not going to, when we start doing our process of reviewing and auditing, that you're not going to get a bunch back asking us to do something much different. So we'll talk about how to make strong goals. Being able to articulate your building plan, which is really, if a parent or a staff member or someone, a child says to you, what's gifted or what are you doing for students on ALPs, that you have an idea. And hopefully listing your building plan, if you were K-8, or listing your general plans in terms of a building plan at the high school level will guide you this year and guide me in my work with you and for you to let me know how to best support. You can see that we also spent some time in our in-class version practicing and discussing how to write a good academic and affective goal. Remember, each child needs one affective goal, and each child also needs one academic goal for any areas that they're identified in, and then how to navigate Enrich. So number 3 really is something that I would have to check with you, either if you send me some examples over email, or when I have my monthly meetings with you, we can navigate Enrich together and do some supports that way. The few things that I want you to remember when you're thinking about whether or not it's a strong goal for an ALP. It's going to be across the year. It's going to be SMART, so you want it to be specific. You want it to be right timely. You want there to be some times throughout the year where you can progress monitor. You want it to be meaningful and tied to their passions. So please, we do know that children and their parents need to be involved in this process and creation, and a lot of times that hasn't happened for them in the past, so don't be surprised if they're confused by that. But you really want to find out what students are interested in. Last year I worked with students that did baking, that did computer video game design, that started a book club, that designed the dresses, that did some internships in industries they were interested in working in later. So you can be very creative about this. To give you some examples, those were more middle school, high school examples. Some elementary examples, I worked once with a kindergarten girl who was very interested in princesses, and so she researched some of the differences between the fairy tale princesses and real life princesses, and did some geography and did a presentation based on that at the end. So she was super excited about that. Maybe you have students really interested in dinosaurs, or again, think about what things they're interested in. And then how are you going to measure that? How are you going to articulate that and tie that back to standards? I can help you with that. Think broadly, and I will work with you to tie their interest back to standards. Those examples I gave you were tied to reading and math standards. And that's just a bit more on what SMART goals are. So we know specific, measurable, achievable, attainable, relevant, realistic, tied to their passions and interests, and then targeted and timely. So you're going to be tracking that. So some people may check in once a week, once a month in person. There might be Google Docs or other types of online documents for check-ins. There could be a good old-fashioned notebook, but how are we just progress monitoring and checking in with that student? That could be for a pull-out time, that could be a weekly one-on-one check-in, that could be during a study hall. Think about ways that you're tracking their progress and how they're doing, and being a support hopefully then as well. Yes, we are hearing a phone ring in the background, but we're gonna keep going here. So what I wanted to point out with these examples, they're works in progress. These are pretty strong goals, but we can still make them stronger. So these are older student goals. I'm gonna look at a couple of them, but we have in the upper left corner, student will demonstrate evidence of application of self-advocacy skills and provide thoughtful feedback as evidenced by teacher observation and weekly self-evaluation by May 2017. So there are some things that are good here. I think we need to, it's probably, in order to be real clear, need to operationally define a few of these things more. What particular skills are we focusing on? What does that look like as far as weekly self-evaluation or check-in? If you're doing anything like that, please attach any rubrics you're using, or just specify what tools you're using to help that student in that process. And again, there might be, is there a program or a class or some other tool that they're using also. If we look across to the top right, we have the 7th grade student. By June, the student will take a leadership role in planning and teaching a biology lesson as measured by student feedback and teacher observations. So we might want to be a little more specific here on how we're going to get that feedback and those observations. And it looks like it's something that could happen one time or in one day. So if we're saying visit a school, or meet with a mentor, or teach a lesson, that sounds like it could be done in one day. You want to think about it's across the year, so what's happening in process at the beginning of the year? Are they going to be learning about effective teaching strategies? Are they going to be shadowed or maybe being a teaching assistant for a while? Are they going to start with a 5-minute lesson, then move into a full hour lesson? What does that look like? So you just want to be a little more specific there. Same with the bottom right quadrant. We'll visit or research one 4-year college or program related to their strength areas and interests. Sounds like that could be done in an hour. So remember, this is a legal document, and it's tied to what we know that these students have specific and unique educational needs, and we're going to meet them and help them meet them with some of these strategies throughout the year. Bottom left, the student will participate in a monthly leadership lunch group. So it's very specific here, right? And demonstrate responsibility and leadership skills by completing a leadership project of their choice and presenting it. And then they have some type of form that she or he is going to earn. She's going to earn 45 or higher on the leadership evaluation form. You could have that. You could have a variety of evaluation tools. You want to be measuring. Remember, also don't typically let success on the ALP hang on just one thing, like scoring X amount on some type of assessment. We might want to have a variety of tools to help measure that. We want to help them to be successful with those goals. If we look at academic goals to analyze, here are some more examples. I'm not going to go through them all, but just remember to keep using that same process. If you look in the bottom right, it says SWBAT, which would be student will be able to. It's 3 skills on Algebra 2 or Geometry in Khan Academy as evidenced by completing those missions. So questions I would have again, one would be, let's not say SWBAT, because remember this is something that is student driven and that students and parents need to understand. Also, what are those skills? And my question on some of these are they student passion driven? They might be. Maybe they want to be an engineer, or there's some type of job or something they're interested in that ties to this, but I can't really tell by looking at it. So I think we can be specific about what we want them to do, and then we could say how we're going to measure that is through this rubric or through the use of completed missions in Khan Academy, but we want to make that very clear. I'm going to show a couple examples, which I didn't show in our original training, but I think would be helpful for you, and that is right here. So when we think about, these are goal ideas, stems that might be useful when you're writing academic goals. So improve writing content or conventions organization by, right, as evidenced by. So improve math problem solving by, what are they going to do, as evidenced by, how are we going to document that? improve comprehension of fiction or nonfiction. We don't need to hang it on a by 80% or anything like that. We want to progress monitor, but we don't need to be as specific as we would, say, if we were writing an IEP goal. You know, we'll obtain 80% on this test on this date. We don't need to do that. We'll design an experiment to demonstrate, right? We'll research and report on a certain topic of interest to help solve a problem or create something new. We'll increase knowledge of by doing what? Remember, with the last one, here's an example I'd like to highlight again. It says, we'll show competency in by, and in parentheses it says above grade level standard. That is the general rule, but many of our teachers have now, or administrators have said to me, what if they were identified in 2nd grade and now they're in 10th and, you know, they're not above grade level, they're not even on grade level. You can go to a grade level standard, but you're still going to want to tie it to their passions and interests and make sure that you're going deep and rich. So absolutely, even if they have the cognitive ability and they have the potential to do really well in an area, there's a variety of reasons. They could have checked out, they could have had trauma, they could have had poor instruction. Any number of things could have happened that might have derailed them from necessarily showing it in their academics. Remember that there's lots of different types of gifted learners. Some of them are showing advanced academics. Many are not. That doesn't take away the way their mind works. And then here are some SMART goal affective ideas. We'll improve organization skills by, we'll create service learning project, we'll enter maybe some type of writing or art or robotics club, start a club, go to a competition, participate in a poetry slam, we'll participate in clubs, we'll increase leadership skills by doing what? We'll improve collaboration by what? Remember, it's tied to them, it's specific to them and their interests and needs. We're getting close to the short version of this here. Your building plan, hopefully you have all submitted that to me now. That is due today, so it is the 29th. If you haven't yet, make sure you do that. But what I wanted to highlight related to this is just think about what are the things you're already doing in terms of differentiation and ways to meet student needs, and what are a couple things that you might be focused on or working on improving this year. For some, it is identification or maybe diverse identification of English language learners, students with twice exceptionalities, and so on. Maybe it's tightening or writing more meaningful ALPs this year. And then hopefully there's some additional programming or ideas that you have. And this can include not just for the students, but for those that support them. So teacher in-service trainings, parent outreach, and things of that nature. I look forward to continuing to work with you on that. And I just want you to be able to, and we spent a little bit of time in person talking about this, what is, if someone said to you, hey, my kid's gifted, or they're on an ALP, or I think I might be gifted, what are you going to say? They say, what do you do for gifted students? And if you need help with this, please let me know at any time. So this is the last piece that would really require either you to navigate on your own now and send me some emails or questions. But if you want to write a couple of goal ideas, please email them to me. You can get some feedback. And then make sure that you're into Enrich. You know who your students are. You've pulled those gifted and ALP reports. You've also pulled magnet eligible reports and anyone in talent pool. Remember, we're thinking about around 5% of student population, so if you have way less than that, let's do what we can to outreach and to identify more of those students. If you have more, there's many reasons why you could there as well, depending on, especially in charters, school students and families are going to you for a very particular reason. So we want to keep identifying and keep up on those reports. Remember, October 27th is when all of the current ALPs, those are the students on your gifted and your ALP lists, are due. And then throughout the year, as you gather more data, 3 or more data points, you can add other students to that list. So here's my contact information again. This is the short version of our last presentation. And I would like you to please just let me know if you can send me by email that you have watched this. And I'm going to scroll, don't mind for one moment. Let's scroll back to the beginning. And what I would love for you to do is please write your general notes in a few sentences or less. On number 1, what have you learned about or what do you know about reviewing and analyzing ALP goals to make them strong? 2, what is bullet point your thoughts on your building plan, and And please just make sure, or what your elevator speech would be, make sure that you've submitted those plans to me. And then please make sure that you're navigating through Enrich and send me 2 or 3 possible affective and academic goals to run by and to get some additional feedback before you continue on. So that is our final training. If you could please email me once you've reviewed this. If you missed our final training, that would be terrific. For anyone else that might be watching it just for your own education or review, please email me with any questions as well. Thanks again. Bye-bye.